Yo, what up? Welcome back. Not the first episode of the channel, but the first episode of the TSLAQ Chronicles. Yes, I've changed the name. I think this fits with uh, kind of how I view the channel. I'm a very big proponent of Tesla. It's made me tons and tons of money off my investments in the company, and every time I come out and talk, it's me just giving the facts about how I see it, how the company plays out. So there's a reason why I switched it. Don't need to elaborate too much, but welcome to the first episode of the Tesla Nair Chronicles. I'm your host, Willie G, and in today's video, we're going to discuss a few things. One of them being why I think that every new why I think every new owner of a Tesla should purchase FSD with their vehicle. I'm also going to kind of get into where I think FSD goes as a service, and also how I think the overall structure of the company will start to shift later in the future. But one of the reasons why I think it's extremely important for all owners of Teslas to purchase FSD, not only in general, but at the beginning of taking on the vehicle, is for one, you're able to pay for it over the life of your loan. If you're financing or if you're leasing, you pay for it in the monthly cost, which is a lot easier to do as opposed to going and having to spend, $10,000 all up front. And now $10,000, I agree, a lot of money, not something that everybody just has lying around. Some of us may, some of us may not. But when you purchase this vehicle and you add that FSD onto it, you've also increased the resale value of the vehicle at any later point in time if you ever choose to sell the vehicle. And in today's market, used car market, it's extremely hot for all vehicles across the board. But if you look at Teslas, specifically Model 3s, which are, a more in-demand vehicle, especially amongst people who don't have the ability to purchase, one of the higher end vehicles that has a higher trim or a higher price per vehicle. But that increases the resale value of the vehicle. So for one, you're already off to a hot start. And two, if you take a look back at when FSD was first being sold, it was being sold at about $3,000, I think it was. They increased it over time. I think it, has now it's at $10,000. So it went from $3,000 up to $10,000. And in going from that, let's just say you go sell your car. You purchased FSD at $3,000, and you want to go sell your car 4 or 5 years later, when the price the price of FSD is now going for $10,000. Well, even if you get $5,000, say on an additional $5,000 on the price of your vehicle because you have that FSD, well, look, you got your $3,000 of your initial investment plus you got an additional $2,000. So your investment actually made money for you, right? And made it cheaper for the next person to go ahead and take on FSD. And it is by no means, by no doubt, a money grab in a way from Tesla to be able to, raise the price on it. But at the same time, we have to understand that this is, cutting edge technology that has never been, we've never seen it before. This is novel, right? And so I think it's something that people are a bit resistant to, or maybe they don't understand it. They're not even aware of it, right? Any number of reasons could be why there's a low take rate, but Tesla now, in I think it was Q2 of 2021, we're now in December of 2021. So earlier this year, I believe the take rate was at about 11% of all new Tesla purchases, tacking on FSD in addition to the purchase. So again, this is important. Now, another thing I think that's a major reason why people should purchase FSD is because you're in purchasing it, in utilizing the system, you're helping Tesla develop the system into a better overall. Now, another thing I think that's a major reason why people should purchase FSD is because you're in purchasing it, in utilizing the system, you're helping Tesla develop the system into a better overall product, and you'll help the company and the industry reach the point of full autonomy much sooner than if people aren't taking advantage of the technology. Again, this is not a cheap technology. I'm by no means trying to guilt people into putting themselves in bad financial situations for this product. I'm simply saying, if you've considered getting it and you say, well, it's not really worth it. It's not there today, and I don't know when it's going to come, so I don't want to spend the money on it now. I'll buy it later. Sure, I get it. You just may not have that opportunity later, and it may increase in price later. It's 10,000 today. It was 3,000 a couple of years ago. So it could be 20,000, right? This is a technology that's going to make your car drive itself, like, and not just drive itself, but think for itself, make decisions for itself. This is bigger than a car, right? This is what enables the bot, the Tesla bot. If you haven't heard of it, I'll make another video and discuss that. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can keep an eye out for that. But this enables the bot. This enables the manufacturing process and factories to, be even more efficient, to have the ability to run themselves without human input, right? So, and this is not far off. This is here in a matter of time. I like to say it's not a matter of if Tesla solves full autonomy, it's a matter of when. So, like I said, it's a matter of when. It's in our best interest as investors to take this opportunity to purchase and get ahead of the rest of the market, and help lead the charge into this. Elon has been on record to say, there will come a time when we don't need human labor anymore. There will be no longer a need for human labor. In fact, it's more likely that human labor will be completely obsolete, right? There will be no need to have human labor because you got to pay a human, you got to give them lunch breaks, you got to provide them with healthcare and all these things, right? This is not. There was a time, not long ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, certainly 20 years ago, when this idea was science fiction. This was, come on, you sound ridiculous. This is robots walking around, cars driving themselves. Come on, man, we're far off from that. But this is the rate at which technology innovates and progresses. We as humans, I'm 30 years old, and this has happened over the course of my lifetime. I've witnessed the change for myself, right? So I can only imagine going back to my grandparents' generation or great grandparents' generation when they were barely getting into the car game, into the car market and whatnot. They were riding around on horses, and now they're completely shifted that. So I don't know. I think it's something that we have to keep an eye on, because if we lose focus for too long, it'll creep up on us, and before you know it, you'll feel like your freedoms are being snatched away from you. Right? I was having this conversation recently, and it's when you have when you have a vehicle, let's say a Tesla, for the sake of this example, when you have a Tesla that can go 100x, it's 100x safer than not the average, but the best human driver. It's 100x better than the best human driver, whoever that is. I don't know if you think it might be Jeff Gordon of NASCAR, Dale Earnhardt. Not the average, but the best human driver. It's 100x better than the best human driver, whoever that is. I don't know if you think it might be Jeff Gordon of NASCAR, Dale Earnhardt. I don't know. Whoever you consider to be the best, it could be your parent. I don't know who it is, but whoever it is, that person times 100. If a vehicle is 100x better than the best human driver, undoubtedly our governments will push to require robotic driving, right? There won't be the ability to drive your own car. And what will that feel like, especially for us here in America, where here in Texas, where people are adamant about their freedoms, and they're saying, hey, I want to drive myself somewhere. I don't want to rely on a car. Well, if you drive a car, right, you could be putting someone else's life at risk. And what does that sound like? That sounds like 2020. If you go outside, if you don't wear a mask, if you don't maintain 6 feet, you're putting someone else's. It don't matter if you get sick or not. It's a matter of you putting someone else's life at risk. So think about that with full self-driving. Think about how close they are. There's a lot of people who don't understand how close we are to full self-driving. Take a look on YouTube. FSD beta 10 point, I think the latest version, FSD beta 10 point, I think the latest version is 10.6, 10.7 is coming out soon. But FSD beta, look at the way the car has progressed from the very first one. Go back a year a year ago, mid 2020, end of 2020, I should say, and look at the way that the FSD beta performed a year ago today. Look at the way it performed. Fast forward to today and see how well it performs, right? And I would suggest looking at one person, the same person, and seeing the way that their car has progressed. There's still issues with it. Don't get me wrong. That's still on the table. They still have some issues, but it's a beta program. They're working on all these things, but it'll be here before we know it. And if we're not careful, if we're not focused in understanding what's happening, we again will feel like, oh my God, they're stealing our freedoms from us. We can't allow this. And then you see a revolt, and you see people start to push back, and you start to see people resist and be hesitant to it. I think we've already seen this. There's a lot of people that are anti-billionaires. They hate Elon Musk. They hate Jeff Bezos. They hate yada, yada, yada. They don't pay their taxes. I think the purpose of what Elon has been doing with paying his taxes over these last few weeks, by selling shares in the company, buying back, exercising options and buying back more shares of the company, is showing two things. One, look, I'll pay taxes. I will pay taxes. Here, I'm paying taxes, right? Not only that, but I'm also going to increase my stake in the company to show how much I believe in it, right? So we keep that type of thing in mind when you're judging someone like Elon. I think Elon has shown over the years that he's pretty down to earth. He, at least more so than most of these other people. And I'm not here to judge anyone. I'm just saying it's a vibe I get from him, and I think he truly does strive to better humanity and better serve humanity. And we would be remiss if we overlooked that, right? So, but getting back to the FSD, it'll be here in no time. Let's focus on it, because if we can focus on it and we can stay ahead of it, two things can happen. But getting back to the FSD, it'll be here in no time. Let's focus on it, because if we can focus on it and we can stay ahead of it, two things can happen. We can put ourselves in a good position in terms of understanding, being able to pass that information along to other people who will then also be understanding and say, hey, look, we're good with this, right? We all got phones. Everybody has a phone. Not even everybody has clean running water, and I'm sure there's more people with phones than people who have a roof over their head, right? So we all got phones. People were hesitant to it. People, I don't want that. I don't want that. I remember being younger, saying I didn't want an iPhone. I was cool with my keyboard phone, and not realizing the power of that device. I started playing with it. I'm like, yo, I was 17 years old. Like, yo, this is useful. So now just imagine that being with robots that can move themselves. A Tesla, for those of you who don't know, is not a car, right? A Model S, a Model X, a Model Y, a Cybertruck, Model 3, any of these are not cars in the traditional sense of what a car is. It's a vehicle, yes. It can transport you from point A to point B. However, this is a robot for all intents and purposes, and it's not just any regular robot. This is a robot that possesses the capability of being able to control its own actions, in terms of being able to maneuver throughout its environment, again, autonomously, without any input from outside sources, human input, right? So we're going to have a lot of these things moving around, and then you just put that in different form factors, right? So you use that same computer, because the computer chip that's in the car, you now just put that into a humanoid figure. They figured out humanoids. We've seen the Boston Dynamics dance and "Do You Love Me?" We've seen these things and how you can program them, but now putting that brain into that thing, it's essentially like having monkeys and putting a brain into it that is capable of processing information more robustly, I guess you could say. And then you have humans. Very, very, very soft example, but just to say that, again, we're right here. We're right here. So you put that into humanoid figures, and then you put that into the machines, right, that are actually building the cars. If you've ever seen a car manufacturing facility, you'll see that there's just a bunch of arms. They stay in one position and they just move around. They pick up and they have very automated things. Well, what happens when one of those breaks down, and rather than having a human come and diagnose what's going on and look at the wiring and look at the structure of the thing, you can have a humanoid robot or some other formed robot come over, analyze it, fix it up, and then let it go back on its way. You don't need human beings to do that, right? And this all plays into a bigger picture. This all plays into, I think, Elon's grand vision of getting to Mars, because now you got a SpaceX rocket that he also owns, and you put a bunch of these, you put some robots onto it, and you just shoot it up to Mars, and then it lands on Mars, and then they get to building. And everything that's necessary to build and to terraform the environment so that it's sustainable for human beings will come not from human beings going to Mars, but it'll come from the humanoid robots or whatever form factored robot going out and doing it for us without ever having to sacrifice a human life. Right? This idea is so profound. It's something that people, you read about this in books. This is not, or you watch movies about this type of stuff. You don't experience it in real life, but this is here today, right? So if you don't know anything about Tesla, you don't know anything about Elon, you don't know anything about SpaceX, you don't know anything about full self-driving, you don't know anything about any of these things, I'm here to provide what I know and my understanding of it, and hopefully that will inspire and encourage other people to go seek out additional information, to learn for themselves, to get behind and understand what this company, what this man are doing, to better our entire civilization, our entire species, right? So, yeah. Uh, Now, before we wrap up, I kind of want to end it by, well, so before we wrap up, I kind of want to just give my reasoning for why I think that Tesla, because this video started with me talking about why I think everyone should purchase FSD, and this is why, because of where it leads to, right? Because when you think about it logically, it's easy to come to that conclusion of, Tesla figuring it out and, taking control and whatever. So the reasoning why I think that they'll get there first is based on their method of figuring out the problem, right? So where a company such as Waymo or I couldn't tell you too many other companies that are working on it, but Waymo being the main competitor. Let's even say Apple, who doesn't have any product available today, who people assume will be the quote unquote competition for Tesla in that regard of full self driving. I'm not certain about that, but or even Nvidia that's come out with their computer that will essentially be used for full self driving. Whatever, use any of these companies. The methods that they're using to gather their data, right? Don't even compare with the way that Tesla gathers their data. So let's sidestep over here and look at Google, right? So when you look at Google, Google leads search, right? They have a monopoly on search. When we say search, we don't even say search, we say Google. Hey, go Google that. Don't go search it up. Go Google it, right? It's a term that we use. Same thing with YouTube, which ironically is also owned by the Alphabet company, Google. But YouTube, king of video. There's no, when you look up a video, you tend to go to YouTube unless it's some sort of pay-per-view, or if it's some sort of native to a streaming service or something like that. But I'm talking about just videos. When you go look up videos, you go to look up a highlight, you go look up a recent debate, you go look up anything, it's on YouTube. You look up a how-to video, it's on YouTube, right? YouTube is the king of search, king of video search. That is what Tesla will be and already is with real world data. Think of, again, going back to Google, think of Google Earth, right? Or think about where you can go to the street view, right? And you can look around and you can kind of move the screen around, right? So think about that and just think, how often does Google have a car driving around at any particular point in the world at any one time, right? How many vehicles does Google have driving around? Because this is in-house that they have to do this. So I couldn't tell you, but let's assume it's, a few thousand, right? Tesla has almost 2 million vehicles on the road today. Tesla has 2 million vehicles that have not just one camera, right? Or a couple cameras. It has a 360-degree camera system set up on the car, 8 cameras. And this information is coming to them. There's some, areas that a Tesla drives on the same street multiple times in a minute, right? Go to California. That's all you see is Teslas. Bay Area, Los Angeles, all you see is Teslas gathering up all this information, right? All this data. There could come a time when surveillance companies, right? Tesla creates a surveillance service, right? Where because they have so many cars on the road that are constantly driving around, if you needed to ever access, you wanted to look at how the chain of events of leading up to a house being robbed, let's say, or a bank being robbed, you could access the video feed of an area or a thing without there being without having access to that company. Say the company has a security system set up in a video camera outside. You don't have to go to that company to ask them, hey, can I see your thing? You can go on here just like you could do on Google Earth, but in real time, right? Maybe a few minutes delayed, but definitely not something that's, if you go on Google Earth today, you're probably looking at a picture that's a couple of years old, right? Or at least not extremely current, right? Depending on where you're at. But when all the vehicles are Teslas and they're all driving around and they're all gathering this information and feeding it back to the mothership, so to speak, it's easy to see how this plays out. It's very easy to see. You just have to be willing to open your eyes to look at it, right? So with that, I'd put a lot at. But when all the vehicles are Teslas and they're all driving around and they're all gathering this information and feeding it back to the mothership, so to speak, it's easy to see how this plays out. It's very easy to see. You just have to be willing to open your eyes to look at it, right? So with that, I'd put a lot out there. If there's anything that, let me know what you guys think. Do you think that Tesla will be the king of this FSD, of this autonomous future that we have in what I say is our future? Do you think that Tesla will be the king of that? And if not, what company do you think may take charge? That may be we're going to be the FSD king. Who do you think that would be? So with that, I'm gonna let you guys get out of here. Catch you guys on the next one. Thank you for tuning in. Peace. So that about does it for this one. If you enjoyed this video, If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Also, be sure to hit the notification bell. That way, anytime a video drops, you'll be notified. I'm your host, Willie G. This is the TSLAQ Chronicles. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace.